Hi, welcome to Bloomfield in Focus. I'm Mike McCready, Bloomfield Township Supervisor. And today we have a special guest as our Michigan State Representative, Natalie Price from Berkley, Michigan, which is House District number 6, correct, Natalie?
Yes, correct.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice. Appreciate you coming by to visit with us.
Yeah.
And you are, it says, a former Berkley English teacher.
Well, I was a Berkley City Council member.
Okay.
Before that and during that was a part-time job, stay-at-home mom, and I was teaching a class at the community center, the parent top playgroup class.
Oh, okay.
Before having kids, I was a high school English teacher.
A high school English teacher.
Yes.
Ooh,
yeah.
challenging.
The older, the better
Okay.
for teaching English, and the younger, the better for facilitating a playgroup. So happy to do both.
And so before you were in the state representative, you were a Berkley City Council member?
Yes.
Wonderful. And how long did you do that for?
3 years.
Wow, Berkley has really changed. I told you before I had some family that lived there, and but the home prices, like everywhere else, have shot up. But it's really a wonderful family community.
Yeah, we've been thrilled to live there, grateful to be a part of that community. We moved there in 2015 with 2 kids under 2 and joined a great group of moms, stay-at-home moms with caregivers showing up to support their kids and participate in the community. And I've been very lucky to live there for the last 10 years.
Yeah, it's a wonderful community. And now you're in your second term as a state representative.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And tell me, you're enjoying it, obviously, because you're back for more.
Back for more,
Yep.
here to do the work.
And so what committees are you on?
I serve on appropriations committees.
Okay.
So last term I was both on appropes, the budget process,
Yes.
and tax policy,
Oh.
which was really important to me because money in and money out, there's obviously an interaction between the two. It was great to be able to talk to constituents and fellow reps about the interplay between the two. This term I have a few fewer committees. We're not a majority anymore.
Right.
So now I'm all in appropes. I'm on the public health subcommittee for the DHHS budget, and then the EAGLE, Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy for the EAGLE appropriations budget as well.
And I was on Appropriations when I was there, and I think, would we meet, is it Tuesday mornings you meet at 10 o'clock in appropriations? Or
Full appropes, I
Yeah,
believe,
full
is
appropes.
Wednesday
Is it Wednesday?
mornings, but I
Okay.
do have those subcommittee meetings on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I remember when I sat through my first appropriations, you go into the big room, the appropriations room there, and then those lights come on, and you're like, wow, this is really something, isn't it? Yeah. But you handle the state's money. It's extremely important. And I
Yes.
think last year, what did we have, an $85 billion budget?
So after COVID, we had a lot of surplus from the federal government,
Right, the
and that did
PPP
throw off
dollars,
the
yeah.
numbers a bit, right? We were able to invest in things that we care about in really significant ways. And now that we don't have the federal surplus, we're protecting the things that we advocated for gets a little harder. It also
Right.
gets a little harder when your party loses majority, as you know, as well.
Right.
But I'm here for it. I'm here to continue to uplift
Right.
the things that my constituents care most about, including public education and healthcare and environmental protections
Good
as
for
well.
you. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Well,
thanks.
thank you for your service. I know it's not easy, and it's time consuming, and people, until you live it, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges you have, and not to kind of get off on a tangent here, but is those drives to Lansing with all these road construction projects
Brutal.
going on.
Yes. So
Patience.
grateful to be fixing those damn roads,
Yes.
but it is
Yeah.
more than inconvenient
Well,
some
thank
days.
you for that.
So,
Yeah.
of
So
course.
thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Of
course.
So we wanted to talk today about some of the legislative actions that you're taking regarding the noise pollution and traffic congestion that we're seeing primarily in the spring and summer along Woodward Avenue.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you've been hearing from the residents?
Yeah. So the noise on Woodward is uniquely loud and harmful to my constituents. This is the issue that I hear about the most in my office. Emails, phone calls, people showing up at my community conversations, and for good reason. People's lives are really negatively impacted by the excessive noise on Woodward Avenue. I hear stories about veterans with PTSD who hear these modified vehicles that sound like gunshots going down the road. It's tough for people who have struggled with sensitivities to noises that sound like guns, and our pets, our dogs and our cats. I also hear just the most common thing is people can't keep their windows open on warm summer evenings, or go out and enjoy their yard and their porch because the noise is just so excessively loud. It impacts property values as well. There are studies out there that show that property increases near noisy highways, which Woodward is a state highway, significantly lowers the prices. Some people also feel like, well, one of the pushbacks I get is that why would you move so close to Woodward if you weren't ready to deal with the noise? Well, there are a few things. First of all, not everybody moves there in the summer when the noise is so bad. But also, the noise has gotten much worse in the last 5 years for a few reasons. It is so much easier now for somebody to go and buy a part on Amazon and have it delivered to their house for less than $75, install it in their garage, and then their vehicle can sound like gunshots while they drive down the road.
Really? Gunshots?
Yes, that's one of the more popular modifications. These modifications to vehicles that are intended to create excessive noise are easier and cheaper and more popular to install now than they were just 5-10 years ago. So there is a real problem. It's affecting people's pocketbooks. It's affecting people's health. We know, too, it impacts people's ability to heal and rest and be focused. And so I'm here to do everything that I can legislatively to give people some relief.
That's a good purpose. I've driven the road and I see it firsthand, and I've heard it too from people that it's just loud throughout the summer. Yeah. And when you want to have some peace and quiet on those beautiful spring and summer evenings, it just isn't afforded to you sometimes.
No.
So you're working with local officials and state officials on this issue?
So, Woodward is really unique because it is a state highway. A lot of people don't realize that. Right. Being a state highway, it's impossible for the local officials to set a local ordinance and then have it be enforced on Woodward. They can enforce it on their side streets, but they can't. Their public safety departments can't enforce that.
State law dictates.
Right, state law dictates. So I've been working with the chiefs of the local communities, the police and public safety chiefs, to ask them, what would you need? How would you need state law to change in order for this to be able to be enforced? And so this vehicle code update, which I introduced last term, got as far as it's ever gotten, and plan on reintroducing this term, is my strongest solution, working with the chiefs for giving them the tools that they need to enforce. Now, interestingly, we're not making anything newly illegal with this vehicle code update. So it is currently illegal to modify your vehicle and have it then make excessive noise as a result. Unfortunately, now with the way the vehicle code is written, it says in the beginning that modifications that create excessive noise are illegal, but later on it talks about specific decibel levels. I am not proposing changing those decibel levels. They are important for the vehicles that are coming off of out of the factories, that the manufacturers, the dealerships, they need to abide by those certain decibel levels. And we're not proposing changing them. Okay. What we're trying to do is separate out when you modify a vehicle to make excessive noise, we don't want the officers to need to prove a specific decibel level as part of the proceedings dealing with that proof. Why not? Well, the way that you measure the decibel level is with a specific meter that is designed to be used in controlled environments. It needs to be 50 feet away from the vehicle that's making the noise, and without any other cars or buildings or obstructions. And for those of you people who have driven on Woodward, you can imagine how impossible that is for our officers to be out there with those tools trying to prove that that vehicle without any other influences made that noise. So what we are proposing is that an officer could document the modification that has been made, which they can do with their cell phone or their body cam. There's no need to go into the car or under the car to see that a vehicle has been modified. Yep. And then when they go into the courtroom, they'll need to show this is the modification and it was making excessive noise. And that would be enough to enforce the vehicle code as designed to make sure that we are giving people appropriate penalties.
Well, because you listen to some of these cars, and if you drive Woodward in the evening, it's a challenge because
Yes.
they take up most of the road.
Yes.
And then you'll hear these cars fire up and they'll hit the gas and they make these noises and it just literally you'd almost jump out of your seat.
I know.
You know, because it's so loud. Other than the noise factor, and I've heard a lot of complaints about that. What about the environmental impact that this has on the community?
Yeah, so my bill is just addressing the noise specifically. Noise pollution is in some way, it is a kind of pollution. It's harmful, it affects
Right.
people's health.
Right.
This is what we're focused on.
Right. I know it's a big economic boom for the communities, I think, isn't it, to have these cars driving up and down Woodward, and hopefully they stop at the shops and they buy things, right?
Yeah.
But it just seems to have overwhelmed the area more so than I think the original intention of this.
I mean, originally when the Dream
started.
Cruise started, right, and so many of us just love it and associate with the
Right.
classic cars,
Yeah.
or even the newest, most interesting cars. I am a big fan of the Dream Cruise. I'm very happy to be out there supporting it. The only part that I'm not a fan of is the intentionally modified vehicles that are modified in order to make excessive noise. So I think there are plenty of ways to get out and cruise Woodward safely, not negatively impacting others. And you can make modifications to your vehicle
Right.
that don't make the noise above and beyond how the vehicle came out of the manufacturer.
So how many do you have a multi-bill package for this?
So last term when I introduced it, it was just one bill, House Bill 5696 of 2024. Last term when I introduced it, I am a Democrat from a strong Dem area, and Democrats were in the majority. And the Speaker of the House was a Democrat who got to set
Joe
the
Tate.
agenda.
Yeah, Joe
Yes,
Tate,
of course,
sure.
Joe Tate. So it made sense for me to have full control over the process and to be pushing for it. And I did get some bipartisan interest and support. But now I'm in a new dynamic in the House, right? We have a Republican speaker who gets to decide what goes up on the board.
Right.
So strategically, I have broken my bill into two, which doesn't make any fundamental changes to the bill, but it's easy enough for LSB, the Legislative Services Bureau, to turn it into two bills so we can have two sponsors on the package. So I am planning to sponsor one of the two bills because it's so important to me, and I want to make sure that as negotiations happen that I'm aware and we're not diluting the bill or the intent of the bill. I am currently seeking a Republican sponsor of the other part of the package to help put it in the best position to get as far as it can.
Good.
And calling on my Republican colleagues, including Speaker Hall, to put it up on the board and get it out of the House.
Good for you. Yeah, I think it's very important.
Yes.
I hear it firsthand from family members and friends about this noise.
Yeah.
And also the carelessness, I think, that some of the drivers exhibit that we have to really be careful of, because when you have people lining the sides of the road, they come out with their lawn chairs, they set them up, and that's their evening. Yeah. You'll see them sitting there watching the cars go by, and it's safety.
Yeah.
The noise and the safety. So if you're going to do a two-bill package now, and you did the one bill, 5696, back in 2024.
Yes.
What committee will that go in front of?
It went through transportation before, and that would be my request again. I think it makes sense.
Right.
MDOT, Michigan Department of Transportation, they were neutral on this package. We didn't have an issue with it. I do want to, though, share with your speakers, or with your viewers and listeners, if it's okay, that I have a community conversation coming up where we're going to have a representative from MDOT there.
Wonderful.
And I'm inviting all members of the community who care about this issue to come. We're also going to have local police chiefs there to share their perspective.
And they
but
can sign on online, or is it a call-in?
it is going to be in person at the
in person.
Baldwin Public Library in Birmingham.
Okay.
It's May 22nd at
May
5:30 p.m. And they can find all of that information in my newsletter and on my stateside socials.
And we'll promote that also.
Great.
Let's make sure we get to all the communities up and down Woodward to promote that, because this cruise.
But yeah, we need MDOT to hear how this is an issue for our communities.
Absolutely,
sure.
yeah, because the Dream Cruise goes all the way down to 8 Mile and all the way up into Pontiac. I mean, it's a long strip, I guess, to speak of now. But you also, if someone wants to learn more, or you have a survey that you've set up through your office, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'd love to. So because this is the issue we hear the most about, we're trying to gather feedback in a more organized way. We have a survey where we ask people about how close they live to Woodward, how they're affected, to rank the issue on a scale of 1 to 10, and then to share personal stories. We also ask for ideas. We are working on this vehicle code update that we think will give our local law enforcement the ability to enforce the vehicle code as it was designed, but we're open to additional suggestions that might mitigate the noise and other related issues on Woodward. So we're asking people to share their ideas there too.
So what do they call your office?
They could call, they could email my office at natalieprice@house.mi.gov, or they can go to the website, Natalie Price, State Representative, my official website, and sign up for my newsletter. The link to the survey can be sent to them in an email, or it will definitely be in my newsletter moving forward.
Okay. And if they have any questions, that you can call. Your office is staffed Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. 9 to 5.
9 to 5, and you have usually 2 staffers.
Yeah.
Right? So they could call.
Yes.
And inquire, and the number there, I believe, is 517-373. Help me with the last 4 digits.
I don't know.
You remember?
Good for you for knowing.
Well,
I have never memorized the number, but I'm sure you can stick it up on the screen later.
We'll find it. Well, we'll find it and give it back to you. Yeah, but I do remember a few things.
Good.
Tell me, where is your office in the building? What was the building called again? I'm trying to remember, but what floor are you on?
So last term I was on the 5th floor because I was House District 5.
Okay.
Now I'm House District 6 and bumped up on the 6th floor.
A little promotion.
Yeah, a little higher up there.
Yeah, it's a nice building, isn't it? Yeah, I enjoyed going in there and, with the staff, and great memories, and going down to the Mackinac room for meetings and other things. And so you go back to Lansing this week. You'll be in session, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Yes.
Anything other than the budget? Are there any other talks other than budget talks going on right now?
I think that's the biggest one right now. I mean, we are constitutionally required to pass a budget, so it's going to get done. I think, right now it's just we're facing federal cuts. We're facing a lot of insecurity and concerns.
Sure.
We've had temporary cuts to things like Medicaid, to child care, and we are just trying to ask our folks that are impacted by looming federal cuts or state cuts to share their stories.
Right.
Let us know how they're impacted so we can be in the best position to advocate for things that
Yeah, you have to
people care
manage
about.
through those, and that's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have some real challenges ahead of you. But this is a nice bill. This is a real issue within our community that people talk about. Every time spring pops in the warm weather and the cars get out there, you can just hear it, and it just reverberates too. And people deserve peace and quiet when they're at home and in their community. And I don't think we're able to reach that right now because of the cruising that's going on there, which they have every right to do, but I think it has to be responsible. So I wish.
Speaking of responsible, there's another element of the bill that I'd love to share as well.
Please do.
Which is the penalties.
Okay, yes. Oh, absolutely.
So right now, with the way that the current vehicle code is, if your vehicle is making excessive noise, you face a $100 fine.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter if you have a broken muffler or you have intentionally modified your vehicle in order to make it as loud as possible. It's $100 either way.
Okay.
Nothing cumulative about it either. It's just every time you get stopped, it's $100 and it's gone. And we also hear from our local law enforcement that for some people who have intentionally modified their vehicles to show off, right, this is not a deterrent. So my proposed update to the vehicle code keeps it to $100 if it hasn't been intentionally modified. So if you have a broken muffler or something with neglect, you get pulled over because your vehicle's making excessive noise, it is $100, but it's waivable. Unlike
Okay.
now,
Okay.
where it's just $100 and gone, my bill would make it waivable. If you put that $100 toward fixing that muffler
Right.
and you come into the police office and show it, it's a fix-it ticket, right?
Right.
It gets waived anytime before your court date.
That's
So we're
good.
encouraging that personal responsibility.
Good.
If, however, you have intentionally modified your vehicle to make excessive noise, and again, documented from the outside of the vehicle,
Right.
then it's $500 for the first offense.
Ooh, $500.
$500. Also waivable, though. So
it
if
is.
you put that $500 toward bringing your vehicle back into compliance, back into those decibel levels that where you
Take that little
received it from the
gizmo off that car
dealership,
that's making all the noise.
then it's waivable for the first offense. The second offense, it's $1,000, waivable down to $500. So
Okay.
again, even on the second offense,
you're gonna start paying.
yes,
Okay.
but you can get $500 off if you bring it in and you show that you fixed it, brought it into compliance, even on the second offense.
Okay.
So we're trying to really encourage personal responsibility.
Sure.
We are trying to make it clear, we're not intending to create undue harm with these. We are trying to get people to understand the impacts that they're having driving through these neighborhoods, hurting their community members, and then bringing their vehicle back into compliance with the current law.
That's interesting, and people come from all over. But
Yes.
I know what you mean about if it's a broken muffler or something else, and people just haven't been able to take the time yet to get it fixed
Right.
for various reasons. So you give them an opportunity. Here's your
Yes.
ticket.
Yes.
We'll go back. We can fix that. Get your muffler fixed, and then we'll waive that. You go back to your jurisdiction,
Right.
and they can do it. Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But if you've ordered one of these new, I don't know what devices that create more noise for your car than what the factory had installed,
Yes.
then it's a $500 fine the first time,
Yes.
which is then waivable. The total amount's waivable.
Yes.
If you've removed that device and put the car back in its original factory condition,
Correct.
I'm assuming. And then if you're pulled over for the second time, and this is all in your database when it comes up, right? It's all in the records because our police usually keep very good records.
Sure.
That it's $1,000. However, if you take it off, it's waived, but you still have a $500 fine to pay.
Correct. For
Ooh.
the second offense. Yeah.
Ooh. And these devices, you were telling me a little about them earlier, they're inexpensive.
Some of them. I mean, they can be inexpensive. They can be accessible. Some people spend a lot of money making modifications as well. And again, I am not against all modifications. I'm just against modifications that are intended to create excessive noise.
That's really interesting how they can buy these and install them when we really regulate our manufacturers, I believe, on sound.
Yes.
Right?
And that's what the decibel levels that are currently in the vehicle code and that we are keeping in the vehicle code, that's where they need to be regulated in controlled environments. One of the things that I learned through this work as well, for instance, is that motorcycles are allowed to be louder than cars. We have that in the decibel levels in our current vehicle code for safety reasons. Motorcycles need to be heard over cars. So we are not trying to change that. If somebody modifies their motorcycle to make it louder than it was permitted to be coming from the manufacturer, that will
some
be
of those,
included.
when they hit that gas,
right?
wow.
But we are not changing the currently allowed level of decibels, which is
interesting.
measured at the manufacturer.
So
level.
motorcycles, in general, off the line, can be at a louder decibel
Yes.
level than cars.
Yep. And we're not changing that.
Not changing that.
Yep.
But yet you can still change the sound of a motorcycle. I've heard some of them, when they hit that gas, you come right out of your shoes.
Well, if they've intentionally modified their vehicle to be louder, it becomes
Right.
even louder than it was
No,
at the manufacturer.
this is a nice bill, and I wish you the best of luck with it, because
you.
many of us who live and work along that Woodward area, we want to see people enjoy themselves, but do so at a level that's acceptable to the public, and we need to get back to that. Yeah, because I keep hearing from my friends and family in the areas and up and down Woodward that all summer long, spring and summer long, it's just one noise after noise after noise
Yes.
into the evening,
Yep.
when that's a time you'd like some peace and quiet. Great.
Yeah, and this is another thing that has changed. For many years, the Dream Cruise was just around that time, and now we see just the practice of cruising with excessively noisy vehicles extending into all warm winter evenings throughout the summer. So again, we're trying to get people to understand the negative impacts that they're having driving modified vehicles through these communities, and to bring up some personal responsibility to encourage them to put their vehicles back into compliance out of respect and safety and health of everyone.
People come from all over for this, though, and through the summer, because they bring their cars and they want to show them off, which you get, and some of them are so much fun to look at and see them, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they have to recognize that this is a neighborhood still, even though it's a state highway, basically, or a state road.
Yeah.
So good. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Anything we can do to help, we're here to help you with this. I think it's a nice bill, and I hope it gets through committee and then onto the floor for a vote.
Yeah.
Great.
Too. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Natalie. Natalie Price, our state representative from the 6th District. I want to thank you for being with us today. Appreciate your time. I know how busy it can be. And anything, again, we can do, please let us know. Thank you.
Great.
And thank you for watching Bloomfield in Focus. We'll see you next time.